You should probably add yourself to the stream. What's going on, guys? How is everybody doing today? This is a new thing for me. Look, here's the deal. The Book of Boba Fett has been a very interesting ride for me as a Star Wars fan because I have seen this was the first real new Star Wars content where I feel like we as content creators, as Star Wars fans, we could get together and talk about this new stuff and either find common ground, find things that reach back to the original trilogy, things that reach back to the prequel trilogy. I thought, man, this is going to be the great unifier of the fan base. And in some aspects, it has been. In other aspects, this has been as divisive, if not more, than the sequel trilogy in some aspects. And so, obviously, I run the Boomer Council every Wednesday. We sit and we talk about what we like about the show, what we don't like about the show. We get input from the chat about how everybody's feeling about the show. On the whole, it feels like it has been received well by the people in my community. What I do think is interesting is that outside of my community, it has appeared to be divisive in terms of what's going on with the viewership. I don't know if you guys have seen, there have articles that have been coming out that are saying that it has lost 50% of the viewership since it started. Other people have said the same thing happened with WandaVision. Doesn't matter, not a big deal. But I came here to speak my mind about this because when I'm on the council, when we're doing Boomer, I want to hear input from everybody else. I do a lot of listening on my channel. I listen a lot to the people around me. I listen to the people in the chat. I want to hear what you guys have to say. But it is very rare that I get the opportunity to sit down and say, hey, this is really what I think about what's going on. Now, I am never one to get easily triggered by something that I see on the internet. It's just not a thing that I do. It's not the kind of person that I am. I don't get triggered easily by other people's opinions. I'm a very calm individual. Um, I was gifted an article today by one of my subscribers, sent me a DM and said, can you read this and then tell me what you think about it? So I'm going to pull this up. We're going to go through it really quick. And I'm going to tell you why, I guess, maybe I'll take the old, the kid's term. Maybe I was triggered. I don't know. It really pissed me off. It pissed me off to the point where I'm actually sitting down and I'm making a live stream about what pissed me off about this and why it kind of triggered this whole feeling I have about Book of Boba right now and how people are feeling about it and why I feel like I'm not being understood when I'm talking about what's going on with Book of Boba Fett. So here's the deal. The show started out, I was very happy with it. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm a Star Wars fan. I love Boba Fett. Big fan of the ship. Big fan of the guy. I think we've all, at least a lot of people in my community, have known and grown with Boba Fett, and we were all ecstatic to hear, damn, we're getting a Boba Fett show. So exciting, right? We were all really, really pumped. I know I was. We got through the first 2 episodes. Sure, were there small things that kind of, I don't really like that. I don't really like that. Yeah, but for the most part, I was very, very excited about it. And then we get to episode 3. Now, to clarify, before I go into this discussion, I swear to God, if anybody calls me a fence sitter or anything like that, I will come to your home. I am so tired of this crap. I've been called a flip flopper, a fence sitter, all these different things because I'm willing to listen to other people and have my opinion changed. Look at different things. Maybe somebody has something they want to tell me, and I look at it. Oh my God, that's in a different light. Now I understand what you're saying. Totally makes sense. This is not one of those occasions. So the reason I'm bringing all this up is because we got an article from a plank of a human being. This is Gita Jackson. Gita Jackson writes for Vice News Network. The article is called "Why Are People So Mad About These Star Wars Vespas in the Book of Boba Fett?" So first off, right off the bat, somebody who's defending it is calling it a Vespa. That should be an issue in and of itself. Like they're being called Vespas. Anyways, look, that shouldn't be too big. So What I did, just to do a little bit of homework before I delved into this too deep, I said, all right, what does Gita write about? What is Gita what's her MO? Is she a big Star Wars fan? What does she like to write about? What kind of person is Gita? And so I looked at all of the different articles that she's written over the past 6 months. These are the ones that I came up with first. World of Warcraft update covers obscure horny paintings. God of War Ragnarok shows how games can get black hair right. People are horny for this thick blimp. The weird animal people in Netflix's new dating show are still hot. Why are white women fake crying on TikTok? And do not fear the TikTok toilet. Embrace it. And then last but not least, Batman doesn't eat poo. See? DC says. So, not exactly somebody that I'm going to take a lot of advice from when it comes to Star Wars lore, anything like that. I kind of lost all respect for the human being from the go. That's kind of where I was at. But I figured, let's dive into this. Somebody sent this to me. I want to look at it. Let's figure out, because this is something that does irritate me. The Vespas in the Book of Boba Fett irked me. It's a small concern. At least I thought it was a small concern until we started up episode 4, and it was bam, right back into the little Vespa gang and their cool little modification community, which just absolutely drives me nuts. Now, I have to say, one of my good friends, the Matt Cave, did bring it up that these people existed in Star Wars Galaxies, which was a massively multiplayer online game from quite a while back that a lot of people played and a lot of people had fun with. I get that. But not only do a lot of us not know that, a lot of us probably weren't emotionally connected with the modern gang from Star Wars Galaxies. And then beyond that, if that was something that you incorporated into that game, did it fit in the game? There's something that I do know wholeheartedly is that Tatooine has been in my life since I was a very, very young kid. I know what Tatooine feels like. I know what it smells like. I know what the weather's like. I know everything there is to know about Tatooine and its climates, the dangers that are there, the animals, all these different things. And so when we see something that doesn't fit as Star Wars fans, of course, it's a huge red flag. And we're going to be like, dude, what the fuck is this? When it doesn't fit, we know. If we're eating a 4-course meal of veal and lamb and all these different things, and somebody squeezes a lemon in our mouth, we're going to be like, oh, that's a very different taste. Now, what I gathered from this article that was pulled up is that if you tasted that lemon in the middle of your dish and you didn't like it, maybe Star Wars isn't for you. Which kind of threw me for a loop. I got a little pissed off. I'm not going to lie. I got a little irritated. Now, like I said, I'm not the guy who reacts to shit on the internet. I don't sit here every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and pull up articles about journalists who aren't looking at Star Wars right. But this is just one that irked me, and I don't know why I felt like I had to talk about it. So let's take a look at this little article and let's see what good old Gita had to say. We're not talking about the TikTok toilet, by the way. We're talking about Book of Boba Fett. And I did confirm through 23 pages of articles, this is the first thing she's written about Star Wars in at least the last year. That's what I know. So, the Book of Boba Fett has some fans questioning how Star Wars, the series, really is, but that isn't up to them. I didn't know we got a series called Star Wars, but apparently Star Wars, the series, is something that we need to judge. But it's not up to us as fans. And I feel like you guys need to realize that as fans, it's not up to you to like or dislike the show. Remember, the writers are writing this for themselves, and then how you interpret it is up to you. But it doesn't matter what you think. So, the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett has some Star Wars fans asking a question. What even makes something a Star Wars? What even makes something a Star Wars anyway? I'm not going to lie, I didn't even catch that in the first go around. What even makes something a Star Wars? I don't know. Getting to the root of that question is more complicated than it first appears. Very complicated, very complicated. When you think of Star Wars, you might think of lightsabers, Jedi, or the twin sons of Tatooine. The iconography of the Star Wars series is highly identifiable and it's very marketable. Having been international, wow, there are so many typos in this, it's actually hard to read. Okay. Highly identifiable and also very marketable, having been an internationally successful science fiction series since its debut in 1977. It was once the brainchild of George Lucas. And remember that. This was once the brainchild of George Lucas. George Lucas is, it's not his brainchild anymore. An experimental filmmaker with a fondness for pulp adventure series. As time went on and Star Wars got more and more successful, he grew disinterested in being a series shepherd and sold it to Disney over a decade ago. This is important because this is going to come back later. Unlike Lucas, who rarely added to the franchise himself, instead letting his expanded universe develop into a not entirely consistent web of additional texts, Disney, this is a run-on sentence, has taken a more centralized and in some ways maximalist approach with a new series of movies as well as multiple television shows, and an entire section of one of the Disney theme parks has devoted to the series. Okay, so I want to go back. I want to look at that. I want to talk about it real quick. So right off the bat, there's a big kind of high and mighty sense of, I know exactly what this series is about. I know what Star Wars is about. I know who's been running the franchise. I know exactly who is important here. And it doesn't seem like George Lucas is somebody who rarely contributes to the franchise. I thought that was interesting because I have I've taken part in quite a few adventures that George Lucas has been a part of since the end of the prequels. So maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. I don't really want to dwell on that part too much, but I didn't think it was entirely necessary to take that portion of the article just to shit on George Lucas and say, well, he's not somebody who contributes anyways. It used to be his brainchild. Not winning me any points, but this is not the reason I'm mad. So the Book of Boba Fett as a show should be an easy win for the fans, given that Boba Fett has long been a beloved character despite, or as Page's deprived fantasy author George R.R. Martin would have it, perhaps because of not actually doing much of anything in the movies, which is an interesting topic because a lot of people say, well, what do you want from Boba Fett? You don't even know who he is. What did he really do in those movies? Well, sometimes you don't have to do much to know who somebody is, right? Boba Fett was cold, calculated, quiet. That's who he was as a character. And that was reiterated when we got to Mandalorian season 2. That's exactly the character that we saw. Cold, quiet, calculated. As soon as somebody talks smacks and make a move, dude, he's busting out the flamethrower. He's beating the shit out of people. It's just kind of who he is as a character. And it's important to remember that in Mandalorian season 2, Boba Fett was post Book of Boba Fett, or at least halfway through. We know that much. So the Disney Plus show gives you a lot more Boba Fett, including his backstory, which fans have speculated about for decades. But the most recent episode inspired some nerd ire in response to Jon Favreau and Robert Rodriguez's presentation of the Star Wars universe. I would have said representation, probably. But in the episode, the titular bounty hunter gets an assist from a gang of cool teens riding futuristic Vespas. The episode itself isn't too interesting. Agreed. Most of it feels like wheel spinning, while the overarching plot of the season kicks into gear. Agreed. But Vespas are a real sticking point for some fans who feel that they don't fit into the rest of the dusty brown landscape of the Tatooine criminal underground. So this is where I would 100% agree. This is where, when I said this article wasn't like too crazy, it's only one thing that somebody said. This article is up to this point, I feel like it's fair in terms of judging the show. I don't think it's fair in terms of George Lucas and how we should view him as a fan base. I'm not somebody who has a George Lucas shrine. I don't have anything signed by George Lucas, but this is his brainchild. This is his universe. He created it. And I feel like it's important that we pay respect to those that came before us, right? Shouldn't we pay respect to those that came before us, especially if it's the person that created the fucking universe in the first place? But I digress. There's a tweet by Matt Moylan says, there is not an ounce of Star Wars in this image. And so we have the dusty background of Tatooine, the sand, and then these pristine, beautiful Vespas with all their modifications. I can't tell you how many times I have needed 12 side view mirrors on a motorcycle. You just can't get by without at least 12. So I think the rest of the The rest of the Vespas are kind of working up their way through the gang until they can have 12 side view mirrors, because you can see this one only has 2. The other one only has, let's see, 4 over there. So I think it might be like a thing about rank, the more side view mirrors you have. Anyways, moving on through the article, it's easy enough to poke holes in that idea. George Lucas, first off, very evidently loves hot rods, which are all over his early feature film, American Graffiti. You did a Wikipedia search. Good for you. You don't have to look very far to find aspects of that culture in other Lucas Star Wars films, too. From the way that Han Solo talks about his Millennium Falcon to now this is pod racing, to the more overt references to 1950s rock and roll culture from Attack of the Clones. Okay, so brings up some good points here. Yeah, absolutely. The modification of ships, pod racing, 100%. I agree. I think what you're missing here is the fact that none of that shit looked like it just rolled off the dealership line. And beyond that, I don't know if I've ever seen something in Star Wars like the Millennium Falcon or Anakin's pod racer or Sebulba's pod racer that I could point to it and be like, oh, that looks like a Ferrari. Oh, you know what? That looks like mom's minivan. This is the part about being creative. When you're creating in the Star Wars universe, you don't just pluck shit out from the real world and then put a Star Wars skin on it and call it good. That's just not the way it works. I mean, if you think about a gonk droid, what's that closest to? Maybe a trash can? I guess that's kind of close. What about the server droid in the diner? What do you I mean, this is the problem with people who aren't creative. They take things, they stick them in the Star Wars universe, put a shiny coat on it, and say, that's Star Wars. And if you don't like it, well, then maybe the problem's not with Star Wars, it's with you. Moving on, deciding what is or isn't Star Wars, though. It isn't up to the fans. So this was where I went from reading the article to getting a little pissed off. Because this is irritating to me. Deciding what is or isn't Star Wars isn't up to the fans. Isn't that the most important part? Maybe I'm missing something here, but isn't that the most important part? Aren't the fans what make Star Wars Star Wars? So if it's not up to them, who is it up to? That would be the question that I would pose. If it's not up to them, who's it up to? I'm going to hit the chat really quick just because I see homie in here. Shiny and new ships. They had money on Naboo. Yeah, Naboo ships. And yeah, and a lot of stuff on Coruscant, where all of the money of the entire galaxy was based in the most... Holy shit. Hold on. I got to take a pause real quick. That Junkman is like one of my favorite YouTubers in the world, man. Welcome. Hello. And make collecting videos too. I love you, man. You're awesome. Anyways, sorry, I had to fangirl real quick. But that's the thing. It fit with what was happening. If you are in Coruscant, if you're in the core worlds, everything's going to be shiny and beautiful. You have to think about that. It makes sense on Coruscant. And when that shiny Naboo ship comes and sits down, they have to take it to the outskirts. They got to take it to the outskirts. Dude, that thing flies into Mos Eisley. People are going to be like, what the hell is going on here? Why do we have a dignitary sitting in the middle of Mos Eisley? It makes no sense. And so for me, and this is something that Nikki, one of my good friends, brought up, is that those little speeder bikes, they do have a place in the Star Wars universe. But where they put them did not work. And beyond that, I've got issues with the design of them. That's beyond the point. I think they could have changed them up a little bit and it would have been fine. But that's the thing. When we look at the Naboo ships, when we look at the N1 Starfighter, when we look at, Padme's cruiser, all those things, these are dignitaries. These are high profile people that spend a lot of time with the high money. They're politically affiliated. It makes sense that they would be shiny, new, nice, right? Totally makes sense. If you have some street gang who's shirking guys for water, it doesn't make sense that they would have these awesome souped up bikes. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, somebody can argue that. That's totally fine. Like I said, I'm here to put my opinion in. This is just how I'm feeling about it. But let's get back to the article because I do want to get through this. Deciding what is or isn't a Star Wars, that still drives me nuts that she says that, a Star Wars, isn't up to the fans. In the case of the Book of Boba Fett, it's ultimately up to Rodriguez and whoever he answers to at Disney. Interesting point there. That doesn't mean fans are obligated to like it. Agreed. This episode was truly not very good. But to say that it isn't fundamentally Star Wars is both not true and not the responsibility of the fandom to decide. Take 5 on that. It doesn't make sense to me that somebody could say that it's not up to the fans to decide. This is something that's new to me because I don't follow journalists. Like I said, this landed on my doorstep. Apparently, this has been something that's been going on for a very long time where people are saying, fans don't matter. It's not up to you. It's up to me as a writer. Well, if the fans don't want to buy it, then what? What if I was just screaming at a camera right now with nobody watching? What's the point? If the fans don't like it, then what's the point? And then others would argue, well, there are a lot of fans that do. Okay, that's fair. I understand that. But there's a special mix when it comes to Star Wars. And I would say the same for Star Trek. Any of these enduring pop culture legacies that have been around forever, there is an old fan base. There is a rooted fan base who have children who think the same as their parents. Even my sweet fiance, Mrs. Xwing, watched that and said, that doesn't really make sense. And I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, the Power Rangers, it just doesn't really fit in with anything else that I've seen. And so if somebody who really doesn't watch Star Wars at all, hasn't actually even seen the movies, the first 6 movies, she hasn't seen all of them, for her to say, look, that's something that doesn't really make sense to me, that's a huge indicator for me as somebody who devoutly loves this stuff, that it doesn't fit in. But maybe Star Wars is not for her. All right, so we're going to skip through a couple things here, but we're going to move on to the last paragraph here. It says, all of this aside, there are hundreds upon hundreds of populated worlds in the universe of Star Wars, containing unexplored cities, which contain unexplored neighborhoods. Some of them are home to fan favorites like droids and jizz music and alluring Twi'leks. Some are inhabited by disgraced Jedi who roam the land like the Ronin from Lucas's beloved Akira Kurosawa films. Others still might have hot rods on or in them. Oh, the settings. Gotcha. If your imagination is so limited that it seems like an impossibility, then maybe Star Wars isn't the problem. So that's where I'm going to stop that. That Star Wars isn't the problem. Bruh. Okay, so that's where I got pissed off, and I went to my little group chat today with my other YouTubers, and I'm like, look, I'm thinking about destroying my channel tonight just by getting really pissed off about this, because it really did. It pissed me off. There is nothing that's more irritating to me than A, gatekeeping, and B, saying if you don't like something, then Star Wars isn't for you. The reason why this irks me so bad is because there are 2 sides to every story, right? We got the ultimate fans, right? The big ultimate fans that are like, if you don't know who Revan is, then you're not a true Star Wars fan. And then you got the other side of it where you got these people who, it doesn't matter what comes out of anybody's mouth. If it's Star Wars, they're going to love it. And these 2 people constantly battle each other about, I'm right. I'm more right. I'm more just. I know more than you. No, because what if I like is more it's holier than your aspect, right? If I like Star Wars and you don't, it's because you're not a good person, or it just, the shit drives me absolutely insane. And so my 2 cents for the night, me just going over this, is here's the deal. Star Wars is going to keep coming out. I'm going to keep talking about it. If there's something that I don't like, if there's something that you don't like in a show, like Book of Boba Fett, like the Vespas, if you don't like that, if you don't like the Slave One dipping its head into the Sarlacc like it's a kid looking into a fish tank, you're not a problem. And the people that tell you that you're a problem because you don't like it are just as fucking bad as anybody else. It's ridiculous to tell somebody that they're a bad person because they don't like a certain aspect of the show. In fact, I would argue it's just as important for us to fans, as fans, to continue to say this is something that doesn't fit in the Star Wars universe, because the people who are making the show, they may not understand. They may have the best of intentions in the world. They're trying to make a show that we love and enjoy. And if they make a misstep, we have to say something about it and say, look, this doesn't really fit into the whole, the whole shebang bang that we've been dealing with for 50 years. I think it's important that we keep that up. I don't know if it's pressure. I don't want to call it pressure, but we don't have to be negative about it, but we can say like, dude, hey, look, that didn't look good. Didn't look good. Didn't fit in the universe. I think it's important that we keep that up. That I don't want to say narrative because that's such a negatively charged word, but we have to keep up the discourse. It's important to talk about stuff. And we've gotten to a point now where there are people out there that just get hate clicks and stuff like that. But if you keep up the discourse and you keep up talking about what does and doesn't work in the Star Wars universe, eventually somebody's going to listen. Either that or it's going to get so bad that people are just going to stop watching it. And then eventually Star Wars is going to die. So I think it's important as fans that we recognize that sometimes people that don't like certain aspects of Star Wars aren't shitty people. We're actually not bad people. In fact, we love Star Wars and we want to preserve that legacy. When you say you only talk about the negative, it's not that. We enjoy the positives and love talking about the positives, but the stuff that is negative, it's almost scary to some of us because we don't want to see it go down that road. Look, when you have something as beloved as Star Wars that's purchased by a large company that their only concern is making money, and that's not me bashing on Disney, that's how it is. And it was bought from somebody like George Lucas who said, damn it all to hell to corporations. I just want to tell a good story. I don't care about the money. I just want to tell a good story. And then it gets picked up by a company who says, I don't really care about the story if it makes money. That's where we get concerned. So that's where I'm at. That's how I'm feeling. I just had to rant a little bit. I know it was a short stream. If anybody wants to pop in and talk about this, they want to share their opinions, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat right now. Anybody, negative or positive, if you want to talk about it, like I said, it's important to keep up the discourse. I'm willing to talk to anybody that wants to talk about it. Hop on and talk to me. I'm not an angry person. I'm not mean. I'm not going to bite you. I enjoy discourse. So I dropped that in the chat. Yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there. Yo,
can you hear me?
What's up, buddy?
What's up?
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
You in bed right now?
No, I'm on my computer.
What's up?
Does my mic sound that bad?
No, you're good. You just sound a little sleepy.
No, I am. But
what's up, Trivia Master? How you doing?
Too bad. Sound that bad? Hang on. Wait, what the hell? Too bad.
How's it
There
going?
we go.
How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Wait, what the hell?
What's up? What do you feel? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I thought let me meet my. I thought the episode 4 was pretty good. The only thing I thought was kind of cheesy was the kitchen chase with the rabbit droid.
Rey Skywalker is the best Skywalker. I agree.
So that junk man peacing out. Say, gotta go edit, but nice change-o. Rey Skywalker is the best Skywalker. He's messing with me right now, but I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and get rid of a youngling for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, junk man. I appreciate it, man.
I agree. I think episode 4 was definitely the best episode so far. There was just like little moments in there, and I don't know. I don't understand the complaints with like the zipper. Like people are like so triggered over zippers in Star Wars. Like, yeah, it might not fit that perfectly, but that's not what I have problems with this show, man. It's way different stuff than that. Like people
Somebody upset about a zipper?
Well, they're complaining because the girl, and I think it was episode 3, had zippers on her jacket. Apparently, there's no zippers in Star Wars. I didn't know that, but apparently,
okay. See, that's something that like stop.
Yeah,
just stop. That's too much, bro.
But for me, it's like the silly moments. Like episode 4 was pretty good. Like I actually did enjoy it quite a bit. But then there's like the Tom and Jerry moment in the middle of the episode that just takes me out. Like where he was chasing that droid around. It's like, what are we doing? And I don't understand why he just announced that he's Boba Fett to the droid. Was that like a comedy moment? Supposed to be a comedy
Hey,
moment?
man, that's my new catch line.
That your Boba Fett?
Yeah, I am Boba Fett.
All right. Well, trivia. I want to hear. What do you think about this? Between the discourse between what's going on in the media and what people are saying about how if we don't like the speeder bikes, then maybe Star Wars isn't for us. Give me a rundown on that real quick.
Well, I thought they were kind of dumb looking myself, but I realize I know it's a homage to the American Graffiti or even Back to the Future, right? And
That was the Biff chase for sure.
yeah, right. And the Melu runs there at the end with call back to Rebels, and the media. Who cares? You know, uh, each it's obvious now from watching several reaction channels that everybody's got their own take on everything, and especially Echo Base Network there, and everybody's looking for something different, and if they see it, they like it, and if they don't see it, they're upset. Myself, and most people thought episode 2 was great, and Echo Base thought it sucked. So what you gonna do?
Yeah, and that was something that Coach and I talked about. I said episode 2. I said I'm still loving this, man, and he's like, man, I hated it. They got off of it, and that's when all the shit roll started happening with their channel. Was episode 2. So
Right, I thought. I mean, I've immediately caught on that the Tuscan tribe stuff is another homage back to Dances with Wolves, Avatar, Last Samurai.
any
Yeah.
native based, white man comes in, native based kind of story. Yeah.
I mean, it's like that's kind of what to do. I mean, where are you from, Xwing?
Nevada.
Nevada. Oh well, okay. You're obviously familiar with native tribes out there, right?
Very.
Yeah, and we were out there in '93, and then down in New Mexico in '85, and we went to that Taos powwow thing they got going there, which is around Santa Fe. Taos is, I think, a little north of Santa Fe, up there in the mountains, I guess. And that's what the native tribes do, and that's what that Tuscan dance there at the end was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know why Coach got all bent out of shape over that one. So,
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, I don't know.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for your input.
right.
Don't be a stranger. Stick around.
Yeah.
We'd love to see you in the chat, man.
All right.
All
Let's
right.
see.
Cool. Risman never ceases just to piss me off with everything that he does, every aspect of.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with those droids' personalities, so maybe that's why I didn't get the scene. I didn't know.
They were in Clone Wars.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't anything memorable, but I mean, how do you, so, I mean, this is the question. How are you feeling? I know how you feel about obviously the media and stuff like that, but for some reason, this little statement just stuck in me like a fucking thorn. It was like, well, and I'm trying to remember exactly what she said here. She said, if your imagination is so limited that it seems like an impossibility, then maybe Star Wars isn't the problem. And for me, the big part there is that if your imagination is so limited, that's not the point of contention, right? It's not that our imagination is so unlimited. It's that we have established lore and established canon, and then when you interject some weird ass shit in the middle of it, it sends off red flags for Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the narrative though, and that's the narrative for both sides. That's the narrative that both sides try to push. The people who there's I'm not gonna say everyone, but a lot of people who really hate the sequels do the same thing with the sequels. They're like, well, if you like the sequels, then you're just not a Star Wars fan. So
Right.
it's the same thing these people are doing with the Book of Boba Fett, where I don't understand how long and how many projects in a row I have to love that come out that's Star Wars for me to be able to dislike something and still be a Star Wars fan at the same time. Like, how long do I have to show this undying loyalty to Star Wars before I'm able to express a true opinion and not be
Right.
called a fake fan?
And that, I went on freaking Facebook. I shouldn't have done this. I went on Facebook and you see the memes about, the Power Rangers and stuff like that. And immediately I go to the comment section, like, all right, what are people saying? And anybody that's against it, it's like, oh God, here come the freaking incels and the basement dwellers. Like,
yeah. The dude bros. That's my favorite one.
I don't even have a basement.
Right. I live in Louisiana, dude. That shit would flood every single. Oh, sorry.
Yo, Phil. No, we've been cussing. Don't worry about it. Phil
Okay.
McCracken, what's up, buddy?
I'm here.
You are here.
And I'm angry.
What's up, Phil?
Oh, he's angry.
What's up?
Did you come to shill for Disney for me or what?
I come to rage maybe a little bit.
Okay. All right. Let it fly.
As an original Star Wars fan from 1977 who burned all his stuff the other day. I burned it. I don't regret it.
You didn't seriously burn it, did you?
Yes, I did. The only thing I kept was the movies. Only thing I did was kept the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the original 2-part Clone Wars. That's all I kept.
What drove you to burn it?
Put it out in the barbecuer. Opened it up, threw it in there, put the lighter fluid, and watch it go.
I'm a collector, right? Like I would have gladly paid for shipping and just.
I understand, but you have to understand when how can I explain it to you, man?
Take your time, let it out.
When I heard the fire spray comment, that was what did it for me with
really
Disney Star. That there's no purpose of doing that. It's Slave One. If they wanted to be creative and they wanted to get rid of Slave One, have Bib Fortuna blow it up, have Boba Fett buy another fire spray, call it Tusken One, call it Django One. There's ways they could have done that, but to really say, "Come help me save my fire spray gunship," that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but if Han was saying like, "Hey, just hop in me with the Falcon, we're gonna go to Dantooine," he would have been like, "No, I'm just gonna hop in my Xwing." He's not gonna be like, "Hey, I'm gonna get in the Red 5."
But
yeah, he would. I don't think he would call it my Slave One. He was saying my fires. Like he was talking about the class of the ship.
I get the hurt though. You know
when
what I mean?
when you see Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back and Princess Leia gets cut off from her ship, I'm taking her on the Falcon. Everybody in the galaxy knows Han Solo has the Falcon. Everybody knows Boba Fett has Slave 1, Slave 2, Slave 3, Slave 4. Don't care what Disney says. He has 4 fire sprays named Slave 1.
Well, Slave 2 wasn't a fire spray. That was like some weird ass looking diamond triangle piece of shit thing.
You sure that ain't Jodo Cass's bamped up Imperial shuttle? That sounds like that.
No,
but yeah, man, that hurt. It really hurt. I even wrote a big thing for Coach to do, and Coach told me don't get upset. But I'm sorry, man, it upset me as an original Star Wars trilogy fan. That hurts, man. Boba Fett, man, he's the character is Clint Eastwood's Josie Wales. That's how Boba Fett is. That's how Boba Fett should be portrayed.
Here's a positive question for you, though, Phil. What if in the next episode, Finnick says, "So this is your ship," and he says, "Yeah, it's Slave 1."
You know what? Then I would bang my head and commit myself into a mental hospital for destroying all my stuff. I would. But Disney is not going to do that. Look, Disney in its whole history of sci-fi, from Black Hole to Tron to John Carter, they can't do sci-fi. So they took and bought George Lucas's idea, and they knew they couldn't do an official reboot or slash remake, and that's what we got. We got a reboot, reimagine galaxy that isn't ours. It doesn't feel right to me. It does not feel right to me. I think the author that did Steve Perry that did Shadows of the Empire, his article says it all. He knows what he was talking about.
So we can dip into that real quick. Charlie for a $5 hug says, Xwing, love you, bud. I'm busy, but just sending you a viral hug. Get that. I don't need a fucking virus.
No virus.
Stay away from that. What is it called? I think it's the COVID Delta Plus Rewards program strain now. Kill a youngling. Do it.
Thank you.
Feels good. Hi, my freshman.
Crying Xwing. It's because
Ariel, I had to come on when I saw Phil McCracken made an appearance. I said,
I
I
know.
gotta go.
He found the exit. He found the exit from the basement and made his way all the way to the hangar bay.
first time on anybody's live stream. I was saving it for
Is that
Paul,
true?
but yeah,
It is true.
first time.
It is true.
I went to the hospital on Saturday and I missed his live stream.
Well, I feel honored. Thank you.
You know, I like you. There's things I want to drive me crazy, but I do like you. Actually, I do like you.
You sound like my fiance. All right. You all talk amongst yourselves. I got to tear the ear off of Gundark. I'll be right back.
He's got a what?
He's got to go
Tear
to the
the ear off of Gundark.
He's going to. It's a bio break, as we say at work.
Matt, what did you think about episode 4? I don't even think I talked to you about it yet.
So I have to say honestly, for me, episode 4 was really the first episode I would say I liked. Right, I was into it. It felt very familiar to me. Right, and I've been on this a bit of a tirade recently about saying that I really feel like these episodes are all out of order, and that I think they really did a big disservice with not telling the story chronologically. For me personally, if they had shown the start of episode 4 before we got the Vespa gang with the watermonger and all that, I think even I would have been a little bit more okay with that, just because I felt like there was some backstory to at least part of their thing, if you will, that we saw in episode 4 that was completely unexplained in episode 3. Now, this doesn't, I'm not excusing the shininess of the bikes and where do they really come from and do they belong, putting all that, I'm just saying from a pure story perspective. Right. I was happier with what I saw in episode 4 there for that part of the story than I was. It was very jarring in episode 3. Then we got to episode 4 and I'm kind of like, oh, there's something about this that I understand now better than I did. Why would you not tell that part of the story first? So again, I didn't have. Yeah, this was the first
episode 1 or 2.
Yeah, and this was the first episode where I was literally like, oh, I hate that this one ended, right? I could have kept watching. Yeah. For the rest of the episodes, I was kind of like, well, shit, I'm glad that's over.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
the same way.
You know what I mean? So.
Phil, I'm just meeting you when other people are talking because we're getting a little bit of echo from it.
From me, that's no problem. Mute me.
But, anyways, so I didn't mean to start that. Why did George Lucas actually sell Star Wars to Disney? The rumor mill, well, not the rumor mill. He got a lot of hate for the prequels. And I think, he had a baby on the way during filming and stuff. I think it was just a lot for him. And the thing about George Lucas is that if he's involved in a project, he's in that project. And he's not just going to step away. He's not the kind of person that you can just tell, like, hey, don't worry, take a step back, take some time off. We can handle it. He has to be involved in the projects. And so I think it was a little bit of a self-realization knowing that he couldn't physically continue on with with what needed to happen. He did have treatments for the next 3 movies. But that's a story for another time.
I also think George was hurt by the reaction to the prequels, right? So I don't disagree with anything you just said, Xwing. I think there was a familial and just I can't really give this my attention anymore like I want to. But I think he was really hurt by some of the feedback that he got, and I think all that went together to this is just not for me anymore.
And Ahmad Best was getting death threats, and it was a lot. It was a lot, and I can't imagine, in this day, boy, if George had put out 3 and it wasn't well received, it would have crushed him completely. It would have completely crushed him. But on a lighter note, Felicity just came back from a Scream 2022 WP. What is that?
Watch
World
party,
premiere?
I assume. Watch party, probably.
I don't know. Don't pay to watch that. Okay. Well, I was not really super interested in it anyways, but Book of Boba Fett overall is disappointing this far. I don't know who Boba is or why he's doing anything. Struggle to see what cameos save this. Yeah, I think we really need to get some aggressive character development in Boba for us to understand exactly what's going on here. But Felicity, thank you so much for the calamari flan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your generous contribution to
Xwing.
Thank you.
That one's my favorite when you say Xwing. that one to me is
I
the
want to
perfect
say
one.
one thing before I go. Xwing, and I don't know if anybody else noticed it. On the 4th episode, the droid says to Boba Fett, "You're all healed now. All your injuries are gone."
Oh yeah.
Okay. We seen him in Mando, and he was kicking ass and doing what Boba Fett does. What happened between that Boba Fett and all the way to now he's not all the way healed? I thought there was that was the past and this is the future. What happened there?
Well, there's some time dilution between what goes on during Mando and the end of Book of Boba Fett, right?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
He doesn't get in the back to tank, right, until after. So I think, Phil, what you're saying is he looked spry in the book of in Mando, right? But I think in reality, some of that was not all that it appeared, right? If we take the story at face value, he would have already been back in the Sarlacc pit. He had recovered his ship. Then he ended up I don't know if they're going to show us anymore about the whole armor thing or not, right? But he ended up there. He kicked ass. Then he flew the ship around a bit, right? And then we didn't see him again. We didn't see him again until the post-credit scene.
Right.
So you could infer during all of that he really wasn't super well. He really did just kind of stand there. I'm not diminishing the way he took out the stormtroopers, right? But I'm just saying, if you think about it now more critically, I could get my head around it. I don't like it, but I could get my head around it.
Right. All right. Well, Phil,
thank you guys. I'm going to go.
I appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for being here.
I love you, Xwing. Don't let anybody tell you different. I love you.
See you later, Phil.
Bye,
Later,
Phil.
everybody.
Yeah, we'll see you. Man, first time on stream. That's pretty cool. Justin, I'm going to let you head this one off, dude. Do you guys think that Book of Boba Fett doesn't have a big enough budget? We keep coming back to the same 5 sets every episode. Cantina, Palace, Mayor's Office, etc.
I honestly, I don't know if it doesn't have enough budget, but I think it might have been. I don't know, man. It feels kind of like it was a throwaway show where it was like, let's just give them this to fill in the space. Maybe they asked John and Dave, they were like, is there anything that y'all could possibly do to fill in this gap between Mandalorian and this, or Bad Batch and Andor and Kenobi and stuff like that? And they were like, you know what? We always wanted to do a Boba Fett show. Let's just try that out. And they didn't really have a great idea going into the show. They were just like, I want to do a Boba Fett show. Let's do a Boba Fett show. And they didn't.
Well, this was originally written as an anthology movie, though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, yeah, they had Josh.
I mean,
Trank,
probably not this exact story because it was a different time frame, but
right.
Yeah, that was like a long
and that
time
wasn't
ago,
like after Rogue One. That was like way back at this point.
They wanted to originally do a Boba Fett show, and Disney wouldn't let them, so they made the Mandalorian, and they gave him this like the kind of personality that they would have given Boba Fett, and they can't just do that again. Then people would be complaining about that. So they had to give him a different personality, and it's not landing with people.
Yeah.
I think the
Well,
personality he
some
had
people.
in Mando was pretty spot on, if you ask me.
It was perfect. I thought it was perfect. Boba and
Yeah.
Mando was absolutely perfect, and I
No,
said
I'm
that.
saying I'm saying Din Djarin. I'm not saying Boba in Mando. I'm saying Din Djarin as it like.
No, I know what you said.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying I think the way they differentiated the both in Mandalorian season 2
Yeah.
was perfect, pretty much. I think the difference was big enough to know, okay, they're obviously not the same kind of person, but it stayed true to what we've seen so far of Boba.
Everybody give a what up to Omar Gamer. Hello.
Yo,
Welcome.
what's up, Omar?
So
And I mean,
Omar-
just to put a bow on the whole set thing, right? This is why I really think the next thing we're going to see is him going to Navarro, right? The Navarro sets are available,
Yeah, makes
right?
sense.
And so I think there's going to be Grief Karga. I think there's going to be Mando. I think they're going to be on Navarro. Hopefully he recruits other bounty hunters, right? Then I think they'll be right back to Tatooine, right? I don't think we're going to see him flitting around anywhere else, right? They are. I wouldn't say they were on a budget. I think they were on a time frame, and I think they were on limited scope.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I don't think it's a budget problem. I bet if you looked up the budget, it would.
Sound. If they have the sound, they can do whatever they want with it, right? They can put them wherever they want. I mean, we saw that in Mando.
They've been throwing so much money at these Disney Plus shows. I would doubt that this show's struggling for budget.
You know what's weird though, and Risman, you brought this up the other day, is that we're getting all these different announcements for different things, and one of a big one, I think it was the Marvel. They were talking about Moon Knight and all these different release dates, and yet we have this is supposed to be the year of Star Wars, and yet we've gotten what? In terms of anything else other than Book of Boba Fett, what have we gotten in terms of actual release dates, trailers? I mean, we've gotten like a couple games that are supposed to be 4 years out in the future, and then like some random trailer that was apparently fake.
and now they've teased the Bad Batch in the next in a sidebar of the next issue of the Star Wars Insider, right, with the spring 2022 date on it, and right above that is a Kenobi blurb. You can tell it's a Kenobi blurb because it has the cast announcement for Kenobi, but there doesn't appear to be any date or anything else, right? So I don't, and yet Marvel's Moon Knight was on Monday Night Football, right? It was in a big game, and it was pre-advertised, and it was don't miss this, and shit's coming out. And by the way, I thought that trailer looked great. I'm not shitting on Moon Knight. I'm just saying there's a huge difference, right, in commitment.
Huge.
Oh yeah.
From a Disney perspective, right, and how and who they're marketing to. Marvel is clearly the favorite child. All respect to Obsession, this is not the year of Star Wars. Right, this is the continuing escapades of Marvel,
maybe
with some Star Wars sprinkled in.
But we're finally getting Lego Star Wars.
Allegedly.
Hey, wait, one day before it releases. Oh, actually, we forgot like one major thing.
No, Strike better than that. They said it was releasing on April 5th. I'm like,
no,
are you sure
I know,
it's not April 1st?
I'm just saying, like,
are you sure it's not April 1st? It could be. Fucking pissed me off. Anyhow, so yeah, it's it's a weird game right now. I feel like I spend a lot of my time around people who are very positive around Star Wars, which is it's good for me, because I want to keep a positive aspect. But I am the salt deep down inside. I am the salt. And I'm trying to feel better about it.
I think it feels better whenever we're honest with ourselves. And the bad, it feels way better when stuff is good, whenever we're able to be honest with ourselves.
And it's not just preaching a bunch of negativity. It's me feeling like, there's stuff here that doesn't feel right. There's things that don't make sense. And I can't look past it. It gets to a degree where like, I can't look past this. I can't just say this is okay. I can't just be like, support it if I don't feel like it's something that I feel like is right for Star Wars. And does that make me a little baby basement crybaby boy? Maybe. And if that's true, then fine. That's where I'm going to be at. You can catch me in the basement surrounded by all my plastic. All right. That's just the way it is, man. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for the next, couple episodes coming up. I'm really hoping that they can do something that's going to wow everybody and it's going to make people happy. But, the sins of the father, you can't forget about the stuff that didn't work before that. And
right.
Boba Fett just coming and blowing up a bunch of Nikto speed bikers doesn't fix everything else. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I just
doesn't
don't.
for me.
I don't like how people are saying like the cameos are gonna save Star Wars, like save the show.
It's
I
not
don't
going
I
to.
don't like I don't it might, dude, because I wasn't loving the Mandalorian season 2, but then Luke changed my entire outlook on the Mandalorian as a whole.
That's
So
very true.
if Din comes in, yeah, I'm gonna be excited, man. I love Din Djarin. I want to see more Din Djarin, but it sucks that that's what has to save the show. I want to have a good show about Boba Fett, man. I want to have
Yeah.
I want to be loving the
I'm-
Boba Fett story.
I think it's all around the story, right? When I think back to what I liked about The Mandalorian, I liked the story, right? I found the things that Din did interesting, right? Oh, for the days where we just bitched about the fact that his ship was broke again, and where's he going to go to get his ship?
Right.
Bring that back.
It was not as bad as Bad Batch.
And even for me, for Bad Batch, somebody gave the story some thought. It appeared to be, right. The episodes connected in a way that resonated with me, right. I didn't feel like it was a chore to try and dissect that story. I felt like up till now for Book of Boba Fett, it's been a bit of a chore. It's felt like work. I don't mean homework. It's just felt like work, right, to try and dissect
Is Hawks in
and
the chat?
understand the story.
Well, and to
And-
kind of back that up, we're dealing with the legacy character again, and how they act now, which was a huge point of contention for the sequel
True.
trilogy when it came to Luke. And it feels a little bit like rinse and repeat. It's kind of the same thing. People are like, "Well, that's not the one that we know." And then people say, "Well, you just don't understand," which drives me nuts. Like, don't tell me I don't understand.
Yeah.
We've
Which-
all watched the same stuff 1,000 times. We know exactly who that person is and why they act the way they do. It's not to say that you can't expand on that character and have them grow and do different things. It's tough with Luke because he already had his arc. Boba was a clean slate for the most part, in terms of what he could come. But for me, so far, it hasn't 100% it hasn't meshed 100% with who he was.
Yeah.
And really quick, before I move on, I feel like cameos will change people's opinions, which in a way it's a bit disappointing for me. And I kind of feel the same way, because just throwing in a
Yeah.
fun, flashy character at the end, I always say the sins of the father. it doesn't fix everything else. And I would feel a little disappointed too in myself, because I'd be super stoked if we got like a really awesome Han, Dengar, Bosk, everybody together, and it was like this huge cameo ending where like, oh my god, that was really, really cool. This flash in the pan at the end of it, and everybody's like, yeah, Book of Boba Fett was great.
I agree. I don't want it
Yeah.
to become the MCU where everybody's just like, I wonder who's gonna show up in Doctor Strange, like
Right.
instead of I wonder how good how the story is gonna be for Doctor Strange. I feel like that's what Star Wars is becoming, and I don't want it to be that.
I feel like in Mandalorian, people got spoiled, but I always defended the whole multiple characters showing up because I felt it made sense. I felt like
Yes.
it made sense for Bo-Katan and Koskari. Well, I mean, we didn't know her those two guys before, but I thought it made sense to meet Bo-Katan as one of like the basically remnant Mandalorian groups out there. I felt it made sense. I felt in the way they set it up with Boba, even in episode 1 where he only had like the spurs and that shot, and then later with Cobb Vanth, I felt like it made sense. It was well integrated into the story. I thought Ahsoka, in the way that she had her own mission, it was sort of, and I mean, it was connected to Bo-Katan, so again, it made sense. It was connected. These characters have a past.
Right.
But I do feel like with something like Boba, he's not Din Djarin. As much as I like Din Djarin as a new character, yeah, I mean, you're going to meet sort of better characters, not in the way they're better written. They had more character development. They are in a way more powerful. He's going to need help for certain things. I feel like Boba just doesn't need that. He's a well-established character that has been around for literally the beginning of time. And I feel like cameos shouldn't have been the reason why the show is great.
Well, and for Mando, we got Moff Gideon, who was not an unstoppable force. This is a human, but he introduces this villain that is an unstoppable force, right? You have the Dark Troopers that come in. The characters aren't going to be able to defeat that. It doesn't matter what happens, they're not going to be able to. And so what do you introduce to counteract that? An immovable object, right? Luke, you have the immovable object and the unstoppable force, and they clash. And it makes sense for the end of that. I don't see that set up yet in Book of Boba Fett, and I'm struggling to see where it could be even introduced, where if you have a legend like Han Solo, you have these legends, these legacy characters, these really big names, there has to be stakes. And I haven't seen it yet. But then again, when we were halfway through Mando season 2, when he was taking the frog lady's eggs to God knows where, we didn't get that either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think Book of Boba has really failed in establishing a real antagonist. I think it's probably failed also in making us understand who is the protagonist, right, and why. But putting that to the side, there was no debating that Moff Gideon was a villain, right, and what he was doing was not good, right. So far, we're 4 episodes in to the Book of Boba, and we're left thinking that the Pikes might be the villain, but yet the one scene where we interacted with them directly, right, after the great train escapade, it made them just seem like bad business, like shady business people.
Yeah, it wasn't very menacing, was it?
It wasn't very villainous at all, right? It was just, okay, we're not nice. We're being mean. We're bullies, right? But it didn't give me any kind of just a villainous vibe.
Yeah.
You know why I think it doesn't work? Because I 100% agree with Matt. I feel like what hurts the show right now the most is the fact that we have the in between past and present. I feel like if it would have been a linear storyline, honestly, it would have
Chronological.
made much more sense.
Yes.
Because if you have something as confusing, and it is confusing, with Boba falling into the Sarlacc pit, and in like 5 years after that event, showing up in a post-credit scene for one of the Mando episodes, and then showing up in Mando season 2, it's just, and then you have the show play after Mando season 2, but you have events between Mando season 1 and Return of the Jedi. It's all over the place, and I've seen so many people be confused. And I mean, I usually pretty good in like keeping stuff separated from another, but it's just too confusing. And I think the vibe, because of it, because we have characters appearing in the past and the present, the same factions, but in those different time frames, there is a different vibe to them, and I think that's why it just completely doesn't work.
I think
Like,
something that would have worked amazing would have been, instead of Mando being in full armor and blasting Bib Fortuna and ripping him out of the chair, is if
Boba.
you had sorry, if you had Boba walk in his Tuscan garb with a gaffy stick, Fennec takes out the guards, and then Boba walks up to Bib and stabs him right in the chest with the gaffy stick, and then turns it and hooks him and pulls him off the chair, and then sits. And then that's your lead in to where he starts becoming the crime lord. I think that makes more sense, because then, like, okay, he was in Sarlacc, he couldn't do anything. He got abducted by the Tuscans, he became better, and then once he was better, he marched straight in, yeeted freaking Bib Fortuna out of the chair, and then started working on getting his armor back, started working on getting the Slave One back, really starting to build from there.
And I feel like episode 4, I just really liked. I think there was, yeah, I still have some minor problems with those cyberpunk people, but I have not played Legacy or whatever, so I don't know.
Galaxies.
Or Galaxies, never mind. I've never played it, so I don't know if there are these people. So I have no connection, no emotional connection. I just think it doesn't work. But I feel like the way they set it up in episode 4 with Boba's motive, it helped me so much, because before that, I was like, kind of like Crit said, like, why did he even want to be a crime lord? Like, the way he's doing things, it just, now it doesn't really make sense, especially if with episode 3, after we had like the end of episode 2 in the present with like, the Huts just threatened you, my man. Why are you talking about how the city is divided into different factions? You should be getting more men right now.
But the
So it just
interesting
seemed,
thing
yeah,
also about the way he described it, the way he explained it, which I agree with you, Strike, he basically used what a lot of us would like to do, right? We don't want a boss anymore, right? We look at our bosses telling us what to do. They send us down stupid ways. In Boba's case, of course, those ways were a lot more dangerous than what some of the rest of us experience. But what I found interesting was, as he
I don't
was
know,
going
man.
over all of that, he didn't really say, and I owe the Tuscan people this, that, or the other, right? I'm having a problem even more so with the first 3 episodes now, unfortunately, after listening to some of the dialogue in episode 4, because if he really spent several years with the Tuscans, as he seems to imply when he mentions when they go back to the Sarlacc, and he mentions all those years ago, my armor. So you have to. There's an implication there, and even
it's 5. It's at least
yeah,
5
it's
years.
5.
he
Yeah.
indicates he's with them for a long time, right? And I think there's an inkling there of him feeling responsible, right, for what happened, and we see him sort of avenge that responsibility in gunning down the Nyctos. Okay, but the Tuscans in themselves don't seem to be any motivation for him at all to become the crime lord.
No.
And so for me,
No.
there's a part of that story that even feels a little flatter than I thought it was, because at least as we were going through it, I thought, okay, he's going to want to give something back to them, right? And there's going to be a significant part of this
Or he
which
could use them
integrates
later in a fight or something. Yeah.
And now I feel like possibly the extent of that storyline has culminated now with him gunning down the Nyctos, who again weren't even antagonistic.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. I thought the way they set it up in 1 and 2, it really felt like episode 3 just kind of fucking ended the storyline in a way for that. Like, it just ruined it in a way. I think the thing that I like it introduced was that Boba was always like the loner, even though he like sometimes worked with a team. He was that lone guy. Like
Yeah.
he only needed himself. He can do everything by himself. He always wanted to do everything by himself. He's the best bounty hunter. And I think the fact that he like now says like you can only get so far without a tribe, that is actually something that I think is great in terms of character like development. But I agree, as that being the only thing he took from them in terms of like 4 or even more than like a bit more than 4 years, it's yeah.
My only problem with that, you have like to be. I don't remember what his words were, but pretty much he was like, to reach your true potential, you have to you have a tribe. Whatever he said, I don't really remember exactly, but I don't think that. I mean, yeah, obviously he's probably right, but I don't think every single character needs to be like the perfect human. You know, like Boba Fett can just have never came to that realization and just always been the lone wolf badass that he was previously, and that would have made me personally a lot happier. But that's one of the examples of like me going into a show with some expectations that I probably shouldn't have had, and then got a little bit disappointed whenever he said stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's probably my
95
own fault.
95 brings up a good point. This is something I said when we were at Boomer Council. I wouldn't mind. I don't hate the series, but I understand where the controversy comes from. I really want to have faith in Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. And I said that when we were at Boomer Council, that this it took a little bit of a hit for me with Favreau, because I
Yeah.
was like, this is the guy. This is it. We're moving forward. We're going to get the start, especially after the gallery from Mando season 2. When we heard Jon Favreau talking about Star Wars, I was like, this dude 100% gets it. I have trust. I have faith. This is going to be perfect. And then little stupid shit like this gets written in,
And also Robert Rodriguez, I know he didn't write it, but listen, I think I disliked Robert Rodriguez's directed episodes more than any other.
I
I thought
know
the
I
ones that
did.
were complete newers to Star Wars, they honestly nailed it pretty good, not gonna
Do
lie.
you not remember me here? I said it. I was like, you guys are all stoked on Bobby Rod. And I'm like, I'm telling
Yeah.
you, I had problems with the Mando episode and you guys didn't see it. And then
I didn't
here
Well, I
mind
mean,
his
his episode
direction.
was the tragedy episode, wasn't it? I mean, that was Boba.
Session's laughing at you guys. He doesn't think your opinions are valid.
Oh.
Just
I
No,
I really don't care what he
Yo,
thinks.
Polly!
But yeah, I mean,
up, brother.
Uh,
I did.
I think I think my biggest problem with Jon Favreau, above all else, and I don't know how much of this is Jon Favreau or how much of this is Dave Filoni, how much they collaborate, what Dave does or doesn't have to approve or whatever. But I found the Black Costanza and Boba interaction to be very peculiar. Right? I don't know much about that history. I don't know much about that history or anything, but I know what I've researched now and what I think is said in the Canon comics, right? The interaction between Boba and BK was like they've never interacted. They've not worked together. They had no history at all. Boba was I don't even have so much of a problem with letting him go, right? Because letting him go was the catalyst to get him back and so on and so forth. So I mean, I kind of saw that coming, which is also a bit problematic if I'm seeing it coming. I'm not usually the one who sees these sorts of things coming. But when they had that interaction, I'm like, did no one do any research? Did anyone do any research at all?
But that's
well, they got the scar right on Black Chrysan, so
no. But like that's the thing. Like even with the first time we see him fight in, was that episode 3? Oh yeah, that was episode 3 because he fought against those stupid kids. Anyway, I thought that fight was, I mean, it wasn't bad in a way, but I mean, I knew him from the comics, and it was like, these kids should have been fucking dead, on like no doubt about it. And I felt like seeing him fight those Trandoshans was hella accurate. That's how I would have imagined him in live action, because it was like slightly over the top, but not quite the comic book style, but like was still in the realm of like realism for live action. And the interaction with Boba, I thought, was more of like, "Hey, dude, listen, you know how I roll," and like went out, and then Boba followed him like, "You need a job." I thought that worked well, but yeah, I think in the third episode, the whole interaction, like, yeah, it was just weird.
I didn't have any problem with the way he hired him. I thought, okay,
No,
all that was great, right? What I had a problem was with the interaction in front of the twins and all that, like
episode
like
3,
they'd never worked together, right? Like Jabba never farmed both of them out, like none of that ever happened. Which again, it's not super relevant to this story, but it seems like an easy thing to have put together. That's Disney canon. That's not reaching back into the place that shall not be named, right? That's Disney canon. That surprised
I
me.
feel like it wouldn't be hard for the twins to squeak in a small 5-second line about Boba and Black Chrysan and how they used to work together. You know, just to say, "Oh, you remember your friend Black Chrysan," or something stupid like that.
Well, I don't think those Hutts, to me, the way I think of Hutts acting, I epitomize that always, not only with Jabba, but also what we've seen in Clone Wars and some of the other stuff, right? I didn't like the whole, our lawyers prepared the paperwork. There was just some things, I liked the CGI, I liked the voicing.
They just got done watching
the voicing.
Dune, okay? They just got done watching Dune, and so they were used to the ship coming in, and they open up the letter, and then
But and then they were there and they were gone, right? And a lot of people like to say, well, that storyline's not resolved yet. I hate to break it. I think they're gone. They're not coming back. I think that storyline is resolved.
If that is resolved, then it's really stupid. What I'm kind of holding on to is their comment about it's like fighting is bad business, and they are, like, as Boba said, they would profit off of their enemies fighting in each other, which is referring to the Pikes and Boba. So I'm kind of hoping they just wait until those parties are done, and then they're just gonna be like, "All right, you won. All right, now we're gonna finish you."
I don't know, Strike. He didn't even
Hey, listen, that's what I'm
successfully.
hoping. I'm not
I know,
saying that's what
but
I
my whole thing
think.
is, even if Boba fails, right, for whatever reason, he didn't even mobilize the other families to help him. He only mobilized the other families to not help the Pikes, right? Even that part of it I found to be a little. If I had to pick at one thing that I really found not to my liking on episode 4, it was the mansy pansy way that whole scene with the other families was handled. I almost expected as they were leaving him to have Fennec or someone to snipe the leaders of the other families as they were going, right? Because they didn't see it his way. They didn't even do that. It was just like, well, do we trust them? Maybe, maybe not. I'm like, so why did we go through that whole dinner scene?
He puts out the whole spit and spagoodle, right? He's like, look, this is what I need you to do, and they're like, nah, and he's like, fine, you can leave.
He was like, okay, well then at the very least, don't side with the Pikes. And they were like, okay, fuck this guy. I'm just gonna get out of here. No Rancor's gonna eat me tonight.
Surprised if all 3 of those families side with the Pikes. Like, color me surprised. I just
So that's another reason why I just personally think that the Hutts was a throwaway. There should be Hutts. We're in a show with Boba Fett on Tatooine in Jabba's palace. It would feel weird if there were no Hutts. So we got Hutts.
But they're not the bad. Who's the bad guy right now? Who's the bad guy? Who's the bad guy? But who's
Pikes.
who's directing the Pikes?
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying
Who's
that
the
from
bad
the
guy?
knowledge we have, it's the Pikes. Very generally stated.
60+% the way through, and we have not established who the bad guy is and who the good guy is. We don't know what is happening.
Establishing story and facts and motive is one of the main problems we have in general. So
yeah.
The only way they could fix it, or not even fix it, because it wouldn't be a fix for me, but
who is
the only way,
and what does he do?
the only way they could justify like the lack of villain or antagonist is just by ending it off on a cliffhanger. Like Kira just shows up at the end of episode 7, and then they're just like, all right, season 2 next year.
Well, and the other problem, right?
We're getting that.
Not to keep beating the Mando horse, right? But every character that was introduced in Mando, whether it was Moff Gideon and the Imperial Remnant, or whether it was even Bo-Katan and Ahsoka and some of those other folks, right? They all worked within the confines of that story. And I know people who had no idea who any of those folks were, who just thought Bo-Katan was a kick-ass Mandalorian and Ahsoka was... They understood what was being communicated in the context of the story only. If Kira does show up and is identified as the big bad in this series with little or no explanation, nobody likes Solo. Obviously people are not super invested in well, I like Solo, but I don't count, right? All I'm saying is
I like Solo.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying?
Solo mainly.
It's like they've done nothing, even setting up the Pikes within the confines of this story. They didn't do it well. Right. So what I'm having a real problem with is, unless it is the Empire in some way, unless they bring something in that's recognizably villainous for other reasons, bring back Darth Maul. I know it's not supposed to, but you know what I'm saying? They have to bring someone back who has to be ubiquitously recognizable as a bad guy. Otherwise, it's a fail.
You could show Kira on a call with Maul or something. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he could really show up. But
I was not a Solo fan personally, but at least there was a very, very clear line: who was bad, who was good.
Dryden Voss was terrible.
Yeah. Dryden Voss was not a good person. And we had the fun part of Enfys Nest, who we thought was a bad person. Turns out they're a good person. You know, at least there was some of that going on.
This is the rebellion.
Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, are the speeder bike people actually bad? But maybe the bikes are good, but maybe also like, Twins might be good people, but Black Chrysanthemum's actually bad. Like, who knows? What's happening? I don't know. We're just doing it as we go.
It's actually so funny because like right now we have like certain problems in the show while I was already basically completely like lost for words and like completely confused because they fucking changed Boba's entire armor set.
No, you're upset about the armor. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm sure
It doesn't
Black
make sense.
Chrysanthemum just
Hey,
has a very
actually,
kind
I've
heart.
literally sent Weaven like I don't know how many comparison pictures because it was so Strike. You said this once. The armor's different. And I'm like, give me 1 second.
Strike,
I'll
you are
prepare something
so
for you.
very German that you literally took the helmets. You're like, in this scene, it is 31 centimeters. In this scene, it is 31.3 centimeters. It is different. It's like, Book of Boba Fett is trash. I don't like it.
No, listen, the thing is, if it would have been a character like Darth Vader, no problem. Vader always upgraded his suits. The problem is, that is Django's armor. That is his father's armor. So, there's something like emotional value to it, which kind of makes it hard to change it at all, except for the paint job. So, fucking explain it.
I have to say, honestly, at this point, as weird as this is going to be for me to say, maybe I would just prefer it if Jennifer Beals' character was the villain. Why? Because at least she's been set up in the context of this show as being someone that seems a little off and who seems to be in the middle of everything. And the mayor sent him over and blah, blah, blah. And she knew this, that, and the other. And everything's always happening with Max Rebo and the same people in the background playing because they could only do the same scene over and over and over again. Okay,
She's
fine.
sus, man. She's sus. For sure.
I don't know.
I will say I am probably because of how the show has been running so far. It's a complicated profession, indeed. It is. But I will say I think I'm most looking forward to the Bryce Dallas Howard episode. And at this point, how this has been working out, because honestly, if you can nail Bo-Katan from animated to live action, you can do this no problem, or at least do better.
Which one is she supposed to do?
Next, she's next.
She's
next, and then Filoni is co-directing and is directing and co-wrote 6. And then RR is back to take us home. God help.
See,
right?
of course,
He's back at the end.
Someone that is probably going to do a good episode gets the good stuff with probably bounty hunters and Mandalorians in one episode.
Quick question: Do you think it's Figure and Dan with Max Rebo?
I keep waiting for the adaptive speech or for what's her name to say, because she's now called Max.
I was about to say
Max
Rebo.
Max.
Is the other guy Figure and Dan? Maybe
we don't know.
Maybe it's Figure and Dan.
Oh, come on, it is 100%.
Two legends, right?
It's
two
100%.
Legends. Figure and Dan 100%. And the Middle Nodes and Max Rebo. They're like, well, our whole band got slaughtered, so do you just want to do like a?
Oh my God! Please don't show. Oh my God! Crit! Stop! Horny! Stop! Bong!
Yeah, I'm not.
Damn.
Maybe a dinosaur. So that's the other thing. Okay, so I want to broach one more thing, 2 more things, really quick before we.
Man of culture.
Before we get at it, is there going to be a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett?
I hope, and I hope it's basically a remake of this first season if this doesn't go well.
So my thought process is the reason I don't want it is because we have gotten so little resolution in the first season so far. We would have to have some serious resolution, and then, like you were saying, Risman, an introduction of a serious villain for it to be able to carry on into season 2. Even then, I think I want this to kind of wrap up for me. Like,
at this point, at least for now, yeah.
If he wants to continue on in the Mando series, I say go, great, keep it going. Bring Boba back in Mando season 3. Have him continue on in that aspect, but really this whole kind of thing is revolving around Mando, and we want to see Mando season 3. Everybody's excited about Mando season 3. If you bring in a Boba season 2, it continues on this side narrative as Mando season 3 is happening, and I think we should probably focus on Mando season 3, which is insane for me to say that I kind of want Boba Fett to wrap up, but I think he would be better integrated as a supporting character in Mando season 3 than he would to have a whole nother season of him.
You know, funny enough, I've thought about this because, like, I after I think the third episode, I rewatched probably like the tragedy episode or like Mando season 1 and 2 in general. Like I don't know how many times to feel better, but I feel like at this point maybe they just should have shown us that post-credit scene, but like no like Book of Boba coming. Like there would not have been a Boba show. Just the fact that we know, okay, Boba has the palace
He's out
now.
doing stuff. Yeah.
Then we have Mando season 3, and at some point Din needs help big time, and we just now see that Boba has just built up this empire. I think, and like being that supportive character again, like not appearing in
Yeah.
every episode, but like when he is needed, he shows
Yeah,
up sort of.
I don't think he's. This is no hate against Tamora Morrison or anything, but I don't think Boba Fett can really carry a series, especially a multiple season series.
I think he could, but
I don't think Den can either, and I think that's why we're looking forward to Mando season 3 so much. Isn't just because of Den. We want to see what happens with Grogu. We want to see what happens with Bo-Katan, the Darksaber, everything. It's not just Den.
If Finnick wasn't in this series, it wouldn't. To me, it wouldn't be possible. And I'm not saying Finnick is more. I don't want to go into all that negativity
Fennec
about.
is not the problem.
No, I'm
Boba's
saying that
the
without her
problem
in
right
there,
now.
yeah, without her in there, right? To me, this series wouldn't have worked at all.
I think it would have worked much better if she wasn't in it. Because
Well, they would have had to write it differently, clearly.
The focus wouldn't have been on how badass Fennec Shand is and how she keeps bailing him out of all these different situations. It would have been Boba's on his own, and he's got to work his own way out of the situations. And it would have done a lot more for the character, I think, in that aspect.
Felicity brings up a good point. Disney Plus needs content. We'll probably get a season 2. It's not that far off, honestly.
You're not wrong.
Do we
put it out of its misery, man?
Do
Put
we
it
see
out of
the-
its misery. But
here's the question I have, though, right? Given the way they seem to have developed his character now, do we see him participating with Mando in Mando 3 to take back Mandalore or to do? And it just seems to me like he wants to be on Tatooine. He wants to get in his groove, and he just wants to be left the hell alone.
You know what? The whole thing they're setting up right now is probably just to follow legends, and Boba's going to be the new Mandalorian. At some point, he's just going to say, "You can only get so far without a tribe, and now my tribe is Mandalore."
Oh, you know what? I could even get around the Tatooine becoming the new. All the Mandalorians moving to Tatooine, right, and hanging out with Boba and doing some other things.
You know,
right?
honestly, if Boba Fett ever comes to Mandalore, I want him to be like, "Ha, I guess the Empire didn't turn this planet to glass."
Oh God!
Well, I mean, if
We
we
did
believe
not just
Tatooine,
say that.
if we believe Tatooine's backstory, right, other folks are responsible, right, for the climate and the way things are on Tatooine, right? So there are potentially similarities between what's happened on both planets. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, at one point I thought, okay, he's going to leave Finnick in charge. He's going to go away with Mando. Something's going to happen. We're going to get to see Boba participating in a meaningful way as we go forward. I'm not so sure anymore.
We're playing the quiet game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're playing the reading game.
They're just reading the comment.
Yeah, they're just reading a whole book.
But on your point, Xwing, I hope what doesn't happen is we get to some massive cliffhanger where they're all squaring off, right? Boba's on the Rancor, he's there with the bounty hunters and the Vespa folks, and they're looking at a legion of pikes or whatever, and then it ends.
Oh no! If they do that,
I would be very upset. I would be very upset. What's up, Commander RK12? Everybody say hi to Commander.
Hi.
Hey, Commander.
What's up?
I'm the commander here.
Isn't that the? I was about to.
I'm the commander.
I know, there's a new commander in town.
Well, that would be probably my biggest grievance. Would be if they gave us that, we got all the way to the end, and then they left us on a frickin'. It's not even a cliffhanger, because a cliffhanger would mean that there was some plot that was left unresolved, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
And we're freaking so far into it at this point. You know?
And like one of the main things that I at this point am just lingering for is we've God, I know most people don't like the flashback timeline. I honestly thought in that timeline, Boba's more Boba than in the present from his character.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. I think in that he actually matches the Boba we see in Mando because he literally beats up people by himself.
Right.
He doesn't really take shit. Like a Bantha, like even Boba can get comedic. I don't know. Didn't bug me too much, but I felt like that actually matched. I'm not talking about the present because I feel like I have a lot of problems with that, but what I really want to see at this point is Boba beating up people in his armor, and god damn it, he needs to fire his EE3. We have only seen the
Yeah.
flashback of him shooting. Like,
That's
how
the
is
only
that
time
even
he shot
possible?
anyone.
Yeah.
Bib
He's
Fortuna.
fired it 3 times in Empire Strikes Back, and like, yeah, 0.5 because before he shot, Luke chopped his blaster in half. But
I love you, Chris.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still. I know this is going to sound so peculiar because everyone's like, "Get rid of the Bacta tank, no more flashbacks, etc." I'm still hoping for Empire Strikes Back or other Return of the Jedi snippets or flashbacks, right? Of him fulfilling earlier duties as a bounty hunter or doing something that we would have found interesting that didn't have to do with just him flashing back to getting out of the Sarlacc, or that scene that they keep having on Camino that keeps getting wider and wider and wider, right? Is there going to be something about that that ends up being meaningful, or have we really ended the flashbacks? And if so, I feel a little bit like that they just didn't explore that the best way they could have.
yeah.
Well, so here's a point of hope. Remember that we do have more episodes coming, but I don't think there's any way that they put the Camino flashbacks with him watching his father leave in Slave One, all of that stuff. There's no way they don't work that into the last episodes. There's just no way. There's no way they start with him dying on Geonosis in Petronaki and then move with him watching him always leave in the slave. There's just they're working that into something. And somebody clip this so I can be extremely upset at the end of Book of Boba where I'm like, I was wrong. They did nothing.
That would be really random if they didn't tie it into the story at all.
It would be very strange for them to add that stuff in with no further explanation, or at least no continuity with him in his childhood, because I think they're putting that in there for people to try to make sense about his childhood and why he is the way he is, or at least what he's searching for, why he wants something is why I think they're doing that. But if they don't expand on it, dude, then yeah, like what the fuck were you doing?
Yeah, in that case, it's just sort of like, oh, you like Attack of the Clones? You like Attack of the Clones? Like, here, you see this. Ooh, shiny Camino.
They've been so, as we know, right? They've been so averse to any kind of going back to any of George's stuff, right? Especially the official prequel
that makes me
stuff,
curious.
right?
That is exactly.
That's why I'm like, this couldn't have. This to me, it can't be accidental, right? Why would they choose now of all times to just throw it in there, right? I mean,
well, and
I don't know.
Have the de-aged little baby Boba and everything. This is a good question too. Do you think they Disney-fied the character? I feel like there's no reason for Boba Fett's whole character to change.
I wouldn't say Disney-fied, honestly, because we've seen him in Mando season 2. At this point, he's just stupefied.
Yeah, he's kind of dumb.
Like, I mean, we've seen Disney content where Boba is correct. I am going to say correct in Mando. He just acts stupid in certain scenes, especially in the present timeline.
Yeah,
I think they Disney-fied a lot of aspects of the show. Maybe not so much Boba Fett. I think he is kind of dumb at times, but I think
mean, the fact that like there's no blood on Boba's hand or like any scars when Black Crescent fucking hits him in the face.
He got his bones crushed.
Yeah,
I mean, Black K dismembered the one guy, right? And there was no blood at all, right? Even when Kenobi cut the other guy's arm off in the cantina, right? There was blood.
And you know what's even funnier? Trandoshans grow their limbs back. That is not even final. That guy's gonna have an arm in like a month.
Okay, all right. So I
You
want
have
to
like
play.
Deadpool arms.
I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate because this is my job, right? There's no reason for Boba Fett's whole character to change, but I would say to a degree, if you're going to make a character-driven show, there has to be growth from somewhere, right? Do I think they did it right? No. But to be fair, the character does have to change from the start to the end of the show. Regardless of whether or not they did it right, it does have to change.
Of course. I mean, that's why I gave it like sort of the benefit of the doubt in episode 1 and 2 because it felt like it built something up, but episode 3 kind of ruined that in a way. And it's kind of why I'm like also like this show just at the moment feels a bit all over the place.
Yeah, it's
And
nuts. for
I'm
sure.
just guessing that the whole like hopping between present and past just didn't really play too well into that either.
Yeah, I would love to see more flashbacks to the prequels or to Empire or something like that. But when I saw the Tuscans slaughtered, I was very happy. I was like, please never show me any more of
I
them.
hate to say it, I was very happy too. I was like,
I cheered. I'm not at all ashamed to say it, right? And it's not that I have anything against Tuscans.
No.
Right. Or by the way, did you notice that Boba called them sand people? Oh God.
Oh
when
my-
he was referring when he was
Cancel
talking
Boba
when he
Fett,
was talking to
hashtag.
Fennec, he said sand people.
get rid of him.
Right. So anyway, putting all that to the side, right? I felt like I had invested time in a story I didn't enjoy, only to have it culminate in the story being killed. Right. Which again, I thought that was a very un-Disney-like thing to do, actually, killing those Tuscans off. Right. I think the
That was a shocker.
disenfranchised land, give them their land back, justice for Tuscans and all that would have been
Justice
much
for
more Disney. Right. So I'm kind of like, well, that was a little brave on
Hey,
their
show's
part.
not over yet, dude.
Well, I think the female warrior escaped, and I think there's more. I think there's
He
going to
did
be more
throw
to that
her
story.
staff in the fire though.
The staff was thrown in the fire, right? And again, they
she
they
could have run
focused on
off, but-
they focused on the chief's body, but even that's just me reaching to try and think, okay, will I get something back from the time I invested in this Tuscan story? And she's going
Yeah.
to come back.
I
to
think
do
they just didn't
something
want to
meaningful.
show kids and women being burned. I think that's the
Could
only
very well be.
I literally just figured out the whole thing, dude. I figured out the whole kid and caboodle.
All right, shoot.
Why we have the Tuscans that we have. I figured out everything. Okay, so this is going to tie into Kenobi.
Well, of course.
What's going to happen with these Tuscans is going to tie into
no.
Kenobi. Okay, so here's my theory. Okay, so I just got finished reading Kenobi. Kenobi befriends one of the Tuscans in the desert, Plug Eye. It's a Tuscan with one ruby stuck in the eye socket. Basically, when Kenobi gets there, he ends up making a bunch of ruckus, doesn't want to, ends up befriending one of these Tuscan raiders. A bunch of shit happens. And at the end of the book, spoilers for anybody who hasn't read it yet, Plug Eye takes the tribe and instead of being the savages that they are, decides to start looking towards tomorrow. Instead of just living for today, they start looking towards tomorrow and sets up an evaporator so that they can start drinking, actual water. And all the Tuscans are, they're gentrified, if you will. 100% guaranteed that the tribe that we see is the remnants of the gentrified tribe that we see at the end of Kenobi.
Well,
Dude, if Kenobi's not
I mean,
Tuscan,
honestly, not unlikely.
Hey, guys.
Because I feel like Black Chrysanthemum also has a realistic chance of being one of the candidates that we'll see again in Kenobi, because there is that connection in the comics. If it happens, we'll see. But overall, I thought it was an interesting touch because many people were like sort of mad. Why are the Tuscans being humanized? Me, on the other hand, I thought they did an interesting thing of making it not that significant at all, honestly, because Boba always referred to him like only as the Tuscans, not as Tuscan Raiders. And every time people talk about Tuscan Raiders, we see the classic ones, like even in Mando, he said like the Tuscan Raiders, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, they were like the classic ones we've seen in like A New Hope and like Attack of the Clones. So I just sort of assume this is just a different sort of tribe with a different vibe. No pun intended. But you know, I just felt like, yeah, I guess there are different tribes. So
I didn't have a problem with them being. I mean, it wouldn't have been my story of choice, but I didn't have a huge problem with it. I just thought it was kind of boring. I just thought the storyline was a little bit boring. That's all.
Well, and Justin, if I heard you saying what about Tuskens in Kenobi, right? 100%, there is a Tusken storyline in the Kenobi series.
I'm gonna go ahead and step away from Star Wars at that point and not watch anything after.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a downer about Kenobi, because I've been a very big Kenobi proponent ever since the beginning, right? All I'm saying is I think they're gonna do Tuskens in Kenobi.
Oh, if it's just Obi-Wan murdering Tuskens, that would be great, because I have a disdain
what I
for
was saying,
Tuskens.
Maria, is that this is a continuation of that tribe. They have progressed at this point.
Right.
If we get a shard hat, right, and we get the start of other things that are interesting from a Tusken perspective, right, then I think I'll be okay with that, right? It's just getting to be a little bit, to me anyway, it's just getting to be a little much. Right? Tatooine, the Tuskens, the smallness. This is why I liked Mando so much, right? Mando felt very large to me. From pretty much Navarro, we know, was a home base. I get it. But in most all episodes, he was somewhere else, breaking down. Okay, whatever. But he was doing it somewhere else.
And it was new landscapes.
Very big.
It was interesting, yeah.
It was.
It wasn't just different planets. It was new landscapes that aren't just copied and pasted.
I mean, look at the landscape he found Ahsoka on. That's like right out of the painting.
True. That was very different.
That was cool, man. Yeah, they were different planets for sure. There was one ravaged by the Empire, and then we finally got a water world that was different than Camino, which was cool. It was big fishing.
With Mon Calamari and Quarren, but it was not Mon Cala.
Yeah, that was sick. Yeah,
like in the sequels, they would go off. They would go to different planets and stuff. But I'm not turning into that. I'm just saying, in comparison to the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian did a great job, because even in the sequels, when they would go to different planets, they went to Jakku, which was just Tatooine with a different name.
Yay, sand planet.
Yeah, but Jakku had such a big part in everything,
I don't even have a problem with Jakku, because when all of that came out and like Battlefront, I felt like, dude, honestly, a sand planet where like the rebels and the Empire went at it for like one big last time.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's fucking dope.
Yes. So I popped on here to share something that I had a conversation at work with you guys. I can't stay on very long, but I was talking with a coworker of mine at work about Boba, and he had a very interesting theory as to why, compared to Mando, Boba has been underperforming. And the way that he figured was because John and Dave have their hands in so many different Star Wars TV shows now, between Mando Season 3, Ahsoka, Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, you name it, that they've got multiple different teams working on multiple different projects. And he figures that the one show that Lucasfilm can really not afford to screw up is Kenobi. So John and Dave have their like best of the best guys working on that show, and he thinks that we basically got the B team with Boba Fett. What do you guys think?
Right now it feels like the C team.
I mean, it's written by Jon Favreau himself, so I don't know if that would be considered the B team.
I don't feel like it'd be very hard to hire 3 A teams, to be honest with you. So like when it comes to like sympathy for Lucasfilm not nailing it on every single one,
I thought that was the reason why we tried out so many directors in Mando.
Right.
Like, so they are now certified people to write Star Wars or do these shows.
I'm not saying this absolutely wipes away the fact that we're getting a less than satisfactory product. I'm just saying it's at least something to consider.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well,
we were talking about that earlier. We were saying that it feels like I was saying, nobody else was really saying. I don't know what everybody else thinks about it, but I think that it was just they needed something to fill a gap, and they just wanted to make a Boba Fett show real quick.
Yeah,
I can
That's a real
absolutely
bummer.
see that.
that's a real bummer.
Yeah. And
Fair
by
enough.
the way, Mats and Strike, I see you guys have your Lego creations behind you. Let me show you my newest one real quick before I get out of here.
Ooh.
Yeah, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Strike and I are going to be doing a. No, I will be awake. I wake up at 5 a.m. Don't worry about it.
All right, sweet.
We're going to be doing a Talking Bricks stream for the homie Strike. He hit 250 subs. We're going to be over there. I'm going to be building an Xwing, and we're just going to hang out and talk bricks, talk about Star Wars, have a good
Probably
time.
going to talk about Skywalker Saga, Lego
Yeah.
game, probably.
Yeah. So if
Nice.
anybody wants to join, please join us tomorrow over on Talking Bricks with Strike.
Yes.
It'll be a fun stream. I think it's going to be fun. I
Yeah,
can let
I did
loose a little
usually
bit more. I can let
If I
loose a
wasn't
bit.
likely going to be at work, then Strike, I would be joining because check out what I recently built.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I thought it was Gideon's cruiser.
It is
It's a great
Gideon's
set.
cruiser.
Yeah, it's a great set.
Thanks.
That,
For those
I'm
that don't
working on
know,
getting it. I'm working on getting Talking Bricks in the.
I got it, Xwing.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
I was just going there to grab the video.
yeah. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pop off now. I just wanted to pop on real quick and say that, but it was great to talk to all of y'all again.
Yeah, good to
See
see
you
you,
later,
buddy.
Paul.
Thank you.
See you later, guys.
I'm gonna beat you
See
in
you.
Mario Kart.
Bye, Paul.
He left before I could finish. He's so good at Mario Kart, dude. It's so dumb. He's so freaking good at Mario Kart. All right, well, we've been going for an hour and 45 minutes. Holy cow! Hey, look who it is.
Got me. Yeah. I mean, she's right. It's 6 a.m.
Yeah, I know. It's early for you.
Yeah,
Go to bed
of
this
course. I definitely.
This poor guy. All right, guys. Well, I mean, that's pretty much. I popped in just to like put my 2 cents in, but we ended up having an awesome stream about Book of Boba Fett. I really appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out, and getting your 2 cents in. Anything you want to say before you go?
This better be a really good episode.
Yeah, I hope I wasn't too. I hope I'm not. I mean, I try not to be too negative. I truly am just scared about the
You
future
didn't
of the
say
show.
anything.
Yeah, I tried not to. I don't know, man. My true thoughts on the show are. I feel like they're an overreaction, so I try not to say what I truly think about it. I'm just really scared about the future of the show and the future of
Please
Star Wars.
speak freely.
No, that's truly what I think. You know, I don't think this show is going anywhere, and if this is a sign of things to come, I'm scared. You know, I really am worried.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me, right? Because I think I'm with you, Justin. Right, a lot of folks attributed negativity, the lingering negativity in the community, primarily still around the sequels, right? And things that happen there, and all that. We don't need to rehash any of that here. You all know what I mean, right? And I think what Book of Boba Fett has proved to me very personally, right, is I'm not sure the sequels was just a catalyst, right? Just like Book of Boba Fett is just a catalyst. There are a lot of very strong feelings within the Star Wars fandom, right, in regards to what is or isn't Star Wars, how a story should or shouldn't be written, you know, how much you can or can't be either shilling or hating, and where's the middle, and is there a middle, and how does it all work, right? And to me, as I reflected on it, I'm like, the sequels was just the last thing people wanted to bitch about, right? We had a good go of it with Mando, right? And what does mystify me a little bit is what was it really about that made it such a good go? Was it just that it was the best thing that came out since the sequels, and now we're looking for something to argue about again because we're, you know, I'm not sure I really understand it, but I am now of the opinion that it really wasn't necessarily just the sequels content, right? There's more to it than that.
I was about to say, because
Here,
from
Strike,
me
before
personally,
I just want to answer this guy in the chat really quick, and I lost it already. And
we wanted to know what was coming next, right? What
there
do
we
you have
go.
next?
When's your next channel? So we do a lot of streaming on this channel. I do reviews of
Sort of what we
collectibles.
do here.
Yeah, I do reviews of collectibles, and then we basically just talk about Star Wars the rest of the time. There are scheduled ones, so every single Wednesday we do the Boomer Council, which is generally more focused on the positivity of Star Wars, and the three guys that I stream with are all varied in their opinions, but we try to keep a positive outlook on it. Sunday is Hangar Bay, which is anybody who's in my community that wants to come on and stream and talk and hang out. We do a full stream on Sunday. So anybody that wants to come in and hang out, Hangar Bay, every fan deserves a voice. That's what we do. We also have a Discord down in the link. If you're into collecting, we have options for that. If you just want to talk about Star Wars, if you want to do memes, whatever you want to do.
Join Green Squadron.
That's the other thing about the Discord. You do have to pledge your allegiance either to the Rebel Alliance in one of the squadrons or to the Empire. If you're on the Empire, you'll never be on one of my streams. So just get out of it.
That's not true.
And Matt is no.
Justin's in the Empire. Don't say
So
that.
that's right. Yeah, let's get these
come
people
on,
out.
man.
We have fun around here. That's all we're doing. But
yeah,
I digress.
Yes.
it's not that I was holding back. I know that I overreact to things, especially when it comes to Star Wars, because I just feel so passionately about it that I try to not let my overreactions be known. So I try to stay, as mellow as possible. But I truly am scared.
It's okay, Justin. You're clearly not a real Star Wars fan, so all your views are invalid anyway.
But
isn't it funny how you went from a shill to a salt boy? Like,
oh, Jay enters the chat.
It's like that.
Almost
just
immediately.
like that.
What's up, Jay?
It's funny how
Got some
quickly that
fam
changes.
in here.
Yeah,
Jay here?
Yeah,
just
Jay
just here.
Hey, what's up, buddy? I hope you guys had fun today. I didn't get my Han dice that I wanted so bad. I don't know what you guys were doing.
It's crazy how people say that my opinions on the show are coming from a place of bias when every single time I've talked about the future of Star Wars in the lead up to the show, I've been saying it's on an uptrend and that Jon Favreau will be the savior. And now I'm going against a show that Jon Favreau was writing. I'm saying I'm not a fan of it. And apparently I have a bias against Jon Favreau. I'm literally destroying my own narrative.
This is the internet. You were a massive Disney shill, right? And people hated you. And then now you turn around and you're like, well, I don't like this. And people are like, you're just a softball. You're terrible.
Nothing but a flip flopper. We don't have no time for you flip floppers.
You're
one
like
way
John
or the other.
Kerry.
Well, on the other hand, it was sort of like when we were like, yeah, we enjoyed like episode 1 and 2, and then episode 3 came, we were like, yeah, no, we don't like episode 3. We don't feel it. Like certain people, I'm not gonna call them out, but like they were like, so now you get it. Like, no, like I liked 1 and 2. I just think 3 doesn't work. Like I pick and choose what I think works and what doesn't. That doesn't mean that me thinking episode 1 and 2 worked for me is wrong, or like I'm just completely changing.
This has been like my great experiment in trying to create a community where every fan has a voice. It means that you're constantly at war, right? Like I can't make my subscriber base happy. Why?
It makes for good content, though.
It's just interesting.
It makes for authentic content.
Well, I mean, the fun part is my DMs.
Humans making content. Actual
DMs
people.
is like it's a circus. It's really fun. They're like, I can't believe what you did on that last stream, and then I'll do a stream again, and people are like, I can't believe that you did that on that last stream.
Yeah, I can't believe what you did on one stream. Yes.
It's just back and forth. It's fun though. It's fun. It's fun.
What I've realized
they
is
couldn't have believed that. They should go back to a Friday Night Fights. Then they really.
Oh no!
Right.
I remember when Nikki debuted on my channel, and it was anarchy.
I remember.
Do you remember that? The morning after I was like, guys, I don't know what to do right now. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, welcome, Brennan. Thank you for joining us.
Make baby Banthas.
Yeah.
Lots
Jay,
of baby Banthas.
Lots of baby Banthas. Like Banthas.
I appreciate it. Also, Star Wars 95. You're new here. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. I think that's going to be it for us tonight. We've been going on for the better part of 2 hours at this point.
Yeah,
so.
been a minute.
Like I said, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
AM.
Pacific Standard Time. I will be over on Strike's channel. He just hit 250 subs. We're going to be building some Legos together. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then I will put in announcements. There's going to be a couple other channels I'm going to pop on for some very fun things this weekend. Mrs. Xwing is off getting fitted for a wedding dress this weekend, so I am free to do whatever I want. So I'm going to be everywhere. I will be everywhere. Ooh, and I have a fun review coming this weekend for a collectible as well.
That helmet review was a fun one.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to make. I also
The light box really works well,
isn't it
honestly.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looked great.
pretty
It
sweet.
I
looked-
spent like
looked
60
really
bucks
good.
on that thing. And I was like, man, I look like I know what I'm doing now.
You did? You sure did. It was very professionally done. Well done.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a good night. I hope today has found you well. I hope tomorrow finds you better. May the force be with you always. This is Commander signing out. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. That's it for me. Anything else you guys want to say?
Have a great night.
Chicka
Green
chicka
is the way.
chow. Bye, guys.